Alright boys, I'm still covering the trial for the 3 men that killed X. And today a little bit of a clown show occurred where 2 of the co-defendants got brought in handcuffs and apparently walked by some of the jury. They started to reach for a mistrial, but then the judge denied it quickly. And it gets pretty interesting here, so watch the full video and there's more details and everything that happens at the end. The state attorney is amazing at her job and she pretty much on everything, so here we go boys.
There were no jurors sitting there waiting. They were not paraded in front. The jurors' waiting room is on the other side of the hall and they hadn't even arrived yet, and I ensured that when the defendants were brought in, I instructed BSO not to do that, to make sure that, but once I saw them come through, I said, make sure they come through the back so that it can't happen.
So what happened at the beginning of this day was the killers came through the front in handcuffs and their jumpsuits in front of the jurors, apparently. I think only right here, it only says 1 juror saw them, but the judge doesn't want them to see that for some reason. I don't know why. I guess it's just not, they want to see them only in suits. I don't know, dude. They don't see them in handcuffs. It's strange.
Nobody out in the hall at the time. No persons were out there.
This is Diedrich's lawyer.
Because the waiting room that they sit in is eye shot of the hallway, and I would like them polled to make sure that they didn't see it.
You want to bring it on and say, did any of you see our guys in shackles this morning?
I want to make sure that what BSO is telling you is true, because bottom line, it's coincidentally on the day that they're going to deliberate, for the first time in 9 weeks, they're brought in through the front door and not through the back door, which is the protocol. So I want to make sure that my client is not prejudiced from what the jury could have seen. And I'm sorry that I'm not going to take the word of the people that violated the protocol that's been in place all these weeks. So I don't know how we can remedy it, but I would really like a solution.
A tad dramatic. I mean, the jury knows that they're being held in jail in handcuffs. I mean, seeing it, I don't think that affects it that much, but I know the judge ordered them not to be able to see it, so.
I want to know which jurors he saw.
Diedrich apparently saw one of the jurors when he walked in.
If you're going to put him on the record, can we put on the record somebody from BSO to find out why this
No,
happened?
hey, you just said your client saw, so
No,
either saw or he didn't. I want to hear it. Either that's a factual statement or he's retracting it. I want to know. You're making a representation. All right, stand up, raise your right hand. Swear testimony you're about to give in the case now I'm hearing should be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Put your hand out, state your full name, spell your last name.
Diedrich Williams, W-I-L-L-I-A-M-S.
Which jurors did you see?
The slim white lady with the glasses.
The slim white lady with the glasses.
Okay.
What the hell?
Single any juror out and make them feel uncomfortable. I suppose we should call all of them in and ask them if they saw any of the defendants congregating out in the hallway today.
A bold accusation that Broward Sheriff's Office did something improper when all the information that I've heard or that's been put on the record is that an elevator broke.
Yeah, the elevator broke. That's why they came in the front, apparently. He's the type of lawyer to already entertain conspiracy theories, so this doesn't surprise me that he's going to make this a big deal. I get it, though, but,
Mr. Williams saw a juror doesn't mean that she saw him. Additionally, we could attempt to see what happened. There's surveillance, there's other avenues that it can be addressed. I would argue that this is tantamount to incidental. It is not tantamount to fundamental error that would result in a mistrial.
wow. This is kind of crazy. Always in the turtlenecks.
Briefly respond. There are multiple controls.
Seems to be bothering him.
I believe this to have been deliberate, and the issue of the elevator being broken, I heard for the first time out of Mrs. Shields' mouth. Didn't want to be put in this position. I believe that having my client perp walked in shackles in front of the jury is extremely prejudicial, especially on the day that they're probably going to get the case to deliberate. I've been put in this uncomfortable position, and both me and my client didn't want to be in this position.
Jesus, bro. Oh my god, what a clown show. Bro always looks so nervous.
Phillips versus State, 39-7-3-269, Florida Supreme Court. Jurors inadvertent view of defendant shackles not so prejudicial as to warrant a mistrial. The fact that jurors may have inadvertently seen the defendant shackles when he was being transported to or from the courtroom does not require reversal.
So I believe he's reading past cases where situations like this have happened and it doesn't warrant a mistrial. So Boat Rights lawyer's about to give his closing argument right here.
Has the state proven to you, are you sure, beyond all reasonable doubt, that Michael was involved in a murder at 3:56 p.m. on June 18, 2018? They haven't proven that to you because he wasn't. I also, in my opening, asked you to pay attention to the quality.
Laughable. His phone's tracked there. It's tracked on Bluetooth.
The state wants you to focus on photographs and videos, again, that happened hours and days after this murder. They want you to focus on bullets and masks that had nothing to do with this murder.
What's the evidence?
So I want to begin by talking about the most important piece of evidence in this case, and that is the DNA.
Okay. So the swabs of the fingernails of X. Okay.
Right fingernail of Jose Anthony. J03, swabs of neck of
Neck.
Jose Anthony, and J08A, swabs of the necklace. There is someone else's DNA in all 4 pieces of that evidence. There is someone else's DNA underneath Jose Anfroy's left fingernail. There's someone else's DNA underneath Jose Anfroy's right fingernails. The state, in their closing argument, just kept saying, there's no DNA. There was no DNA there, right? And they made it this point throughout the trial to say, well, you know, he was at the hospital, and maybe during the hospital process, DNA would have been wiped off. No, there was DNA there. There is foreign DNA on the video for over 45 seconds. Go ahead, go to the next one. You see him struggle with the 2 men. And what else do we know about those 2 men? They weren't wearing gloves. There's someone else's DNA there too.
And I remember this. I'm pretty sure she said it was such a minuscule amount of DNA that it didn't matter. Like it was like such a small amount of DNA.
That she excluded Michael Boatwright as being a contributor to that DNA, and she excluded Trayvon Newsom.
I wonder what they're going to say about all the phone tracking, because the phone tracking seals the deal for me, honestly. And the fact that their friend snitched on them. He has lied about other things, but I believe Robert in that sense.
During that struggle, June 18, 2018, he's not sitting at this table.
I disagree.
The person is still out there.
I disagree.
Whoever left their DNA on Jose Anfroy's neck is not sitting at this table.
Vividly remembers the girl saying that it was a very minuscule amount of DNA that couldn't have even been anything important.
Who had access to that Cadillac? And what do the higher-ups decide? We've got our guys. Send them to the warehouse.
I think they're really against sending these swabs to the warehouse, I guess, because it's in Florida and it could fuck up the DNA. I think that's what he's going for here.
That DNA that is sitting at the warehouse right now can tell us who had access to that Cadillac. We talked about.
I really want to know what he says about the phone tracking, though.
How DNA.
Bro's thirsty.
DNA. Police talked to a witness who said Michael and Trayvon weren't there. The man that was at Dedrick Williams' home. Is this one of the men who showed up to Dedrick Williams' home before the murder? And Sherrod Clayton says, no.
Maybe Sherrod Clayton is just scared to snitch, and he's just lying to the detective saying that wasn't them, because he just doesn't want to be a part of this case.
Michael would do a search for Robert because Robert was worried, even though Robert clearly had his own phone. I mean, I got a bridge to tell you. This is evidence of a man who is worried that because he has been with Robert Allen this whole time, because he's been traveling with him, that he could be Robert Allen, who is on TV, he could be an accessory.
So he's saying just because he Googled accessory to murder, he's not the person that shot him. Sure, yeah. I already explained this in a previous video, or he could just be searching that up for Robert Allen or just to protect himself in the future.
But he's trying to substitute Michael and Trayvon for the real killers, the real people that were involved, and he screwed up. He screwed up in 2022. And that's why he can't keep his story together. He can't keep his story straight, because the actual people that distributed this money, that collected this money, did not include Michael or Trayvon. If you lie about the little things, it's hard to believe you when you talk about the big things.
All right, what about the phone
reason
records?
is because they didn't investigate this man. And we know that Michael wore a mask for work, right? He did landscaping, how they got this phone, where this phone came from. Detective Curcio testified, I got it from Walt Foster after Mr. Boatwright was arrested. Walt Foster, we had him come in and testify and say, no, I didn't find the phone. I wasn't even there. So, and it's important. It's important because we don't know if that phone was found in a car somewhere. We don't know if it was found on another person. We don't know where it was found. And this is a piece of evidence that the state wants you to rely upon. There is not a single photograph between 12:13 and 9:25 p.m. that can put it in Michael's possession. There's not a single text message during that time that puts it in Michael's possession. There's not a single outgoing call during that time that puts it in Michael's possession.
But weren't there a bunch of pictures of him using it after and before? He's not going to take pictures during the fucking murder.
The one call that we do know that Michael made that day, she received a call about 6:45 p.m. from Michael telling her that a car accident had happened. That was from Robert Allen's phone. It's because Michael didn't have his phone. Only reason Michael would call Tony Robinson from Robert Allen's phone is he didn't have that phone.
Not true. He could just be, I'm not going to use my phone anymore, dude. Fuck this. I shot someone earlier. I'm not going to use my phone. Let me use yours. All right, the state attorney's gonna come up and fry this man. I already know it.
Plans hatched in hell do not have angels for witnesses. Plans that are hatched in hell do not have angels for witnesses.
She's dropping one-liners up there. She's dropping bars.
You recall, one of the first questions that I asked Robert Allen was, are you an angel? I think I asked him twice, and he admitted to you he wasn't. He's not an angel. I never tried to dress him up as an angel. Quite the opposite. And literally, he was dressed in custody. He came in to you with shackles, rent a car for the express purpose of robbing and killing Jose Onfoy when they came across him. They were ready to rob whoever they came across that day. We know that. They were armed with firearms that were loaded. They had masks. And there are a lot of things that we don't have. Not because the state or BSO didn't do its job. 3 out of the 4 co-defendants were not arrested right away. Let's not forget that. Let's put some of these things into context. Firearms were hidden. Still never found to this day. Mask, red mask, 2 out of the 4 masks are gone. There are things that obviously they don't have. The biggest thing, the money. No, we did not find the money. We have evidence of who had the money immediately after the homicide. Those are pictures, and those will be memorialized forever from Michael Boatwright's phone and from social media and from Dietrich Williams' phone.
I honestly wasn't sure if they found the money or not. I forgot that fact, but that's pretty insane if they never found it. That shit's buried.
So Trayvon Newsome absolutely used the car. He was in it, and so much so that he felt compelled to take responsibility for the car crash. Does that sound like somebody who didn't use the car to you? I barely mentioned Robert Allen. On purpose, by the way. Because I wanted you to understand that there's so much evidence besides Robert Allen that you can rely on, that's credible, that's quality evidence, that you can convict these 3 co-defendants for. Well, guess what corroborates that? The location data from Dietrich Williams' phone, the location data from Michael Boatwright's phone. When the phones are tracked together, what do? They go from Reva to Robert Allen's home, and then you see Dietrich Williams' phone break off. But I think Mr. Kimmock, for example, titled it Unanswered Questions. That somehow this acquits Michael Boatwright. I don't see the connection, because guess what? He wasn't just simply posing with money. They were gloating at the fact that they had thousands of dollars. That these weren't just like pictures and video that happened to just, coincide with other things. This was immediately after the homicide. Immediately after the homicide. There are no other videos of Robert Allen with anyone else and the money from the day of the homicide. The people that are in social media from months ago, from before the homicide, he's not posing with them and money from the homicide on trial.
Yeah, like why would all these people have all this money suddenly the same day of the murder too? And it's not them apparently. It's someone else, some other dude apparently.
For somebody that's a self-proclaimed tattoo artist that tattoos out of his driveway and house, that's a lot of money to be blowing.
$800 is a lot of money. That lawyer's tripping. And it's a lot of money to just spend on clothes. If you're spending $800 on clothes, you better have a lot of money saved up, because that's such a dumb purchase.
From the cell phones, because that's what places him in the car. That's what places him at the homicide scene. That's what places him with his co-defendants. So again, you could take Robert Allen's testimony and disregard it completely. But then what about the location data? That's credible evidence.
Yep.
He, Dietrich Williams, is seen on scene and identified by Terry Yoakum. That's credible evidence.
I mean, Diedrich's fried. It's the 2 gunmen that are going to cause some doubt here because they're not on camera. They have masks on. But it's like, bro, they're tracked there. Bluetooth and everything. Phones line up, follow, and they go to the same shit. They go to the same house after.
Well, the evidence that matters is that Keith Braley got into a white car and left.
Yep.
Prior to the homicide.
You sure
did.
The
evidence that matters is that Keith Braley isn't even the same complexion as Michael Boatwright. Remember that?
No way.
So now we're not to believe Robert Allen because of tattoos? If that's the rule, then what does that say about his client?
He did not say you can't believe people because he has tattoos on his face. That is crazy. What a dumb statement when your own client has tattoos.
If he wasn't with the 2 gunmen, then how on earth did a live .22 caliber round that was cycled through the same murder weapon get in his house? That is huge.
They're trying to say the detectives were overworked. Oh, it's so stupid.
That case has nothing to do with this case.
Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shit. You can Google it if you don't know what I'm talking about. They brought that up because they had to work those cases too. Just so disgusting. Like, that is such a fucked up excuse to bring up.
Mr. Kimmock said today that the evidence found in the vehicle was weeks after the murder. That's because you'll recall his client fled to Georgia immediately after the homicide.
That's another good point. Why would you flee to Georgia if you're not guilty? I feel like when majority of people at the time when they flee, I mean, I'd say there's a high chance they're guilty.
We showed you not only by that Bluetooth, that dirty word, but we also showed you by the location data of where his phone traveled to. Never traveled to grandma's house.
He was never at home sleeping.
There were dozens. There were dozens of videos from the day of the homicide. There were text messages from Mr. Boatwright's phone within an hour. I think it was a little over an hour, not quite an hour and a half, after he just killed Jose Onfroy and robbed him with his co-defendants, where he texts somebody and says, tell my brother I got the cash now. This is common sense. Does somebody that does landscaping, not owning their own business, would have thousands of dollars like that, flashing it? Ms. Inett said some of these DNA profiles were so small and so minuscule that they couldn't move on to the next stage to be able to be identified because there just wasn't enough DNA.
So that's what I said. I remember that correctly. She was saying it was so small.
I don't know what trial Mr. Kimmock was sitting at where he said that if the victim was scratching someone. We never heard testimony about that the victim was scratching someone.
Ooh, over-exaggerating a little bit.
Type that I wish that if he had been able to put up a fight, that maybe we could have gotten some of that evidence. But remember, Mr. Boatwright and Mr. Newsom, they quickly, very quickly, in a blitz fashion, attacked him. The two contributors to that necklace were the victim and his girlfriend. That's what Ms. Bynum testified about.
That's not evidence.
Damn, so the only DNA on the necklace was X's and his baby mama. All right, boys, that's pretty much it for this day. Boatwright's lawyer tried to argue a bunch of details. Got pretty interesting, to be honest, but it seems like the state attorney is really confident. She came in and kind of shat on all of his stuff, so I'm still really confident that it's these three men. Why would they have all the money and their phones being tracked? Who else would it be then? I'll keep covering this. If you're new to my channel, subscribe on my Twitter and Instagram.